keeping abreast, or have you noticed this trend that's happened of Westerners choosing to convert to Islam in adult life? Obviously, you spent a lot of your career criticizing Islam, and now we have, I don't want to accuse it of LARPing. These people very well may truly believe in the doctrine, but Andrew Tate is one of them, and downstream from that, there's on-street interviews with young British youths with these Islamic scholars or imams or whatever, converting them on the street, and they're like doing the thing on the street. Have you?
I haven't seen those Vox Pop conversions, but I saw Andrew Tate's conversion. Well, I mean, Islam is just mimetically, it's perfect for a specific audience. You know, it's a explicitly macho religion, right? It's a no pussies religion, right? It's just and it just, you know, it's like with Christianity, you have to pretend.
What pussies?
Well, you have to pretend to be happy to be losing for the longest time. And you're basically just waiting for Jesus to come back and rectify this grave injustice. Like the meek shall inherit the earth. You're just, you know, there's no putting this place right. We're not going to win until we see, you know, Jesus arrive on trailing clouds of glory. So it's all going to be fucked up for the longest time. And there's no imperative that we really do anything. Really, like there's no expectation that we're going to win before anything good happens. I mean, I guess there's one Christian sect where they do have an expectation of kind of winning, you know, a thousand years of millennial glory until and then Jesus comes. But for most Christians, it's a story of failure, and then they get to say, "Look, we were right." You know, Jesus, you know,
came back.
Yeah. With Islam, there's an expectation that they're going to conquer the world, right? And there's an imperative to conquer the world, and for serious Muslims, it's like you don't have to be impatient necessarily. You can take as long as you want, but this is all we all know. This is moving in one direction, and you need to be a spiritual warrior. And if you take this really far, if you become a jihadist, right, you're especially doctrinaire, militant, you know, true believer, well, then you're a kind of spiritual James Bond. I mean, then it's like you get to be Jocko and care about and know that you're going to go to paradise, right? Like, so you get all the tools. Like it's the first person shooter that literally you get all the good guns. Like it's not this boring. I'm pretending to just I'll turn the other cheek. You know, hit. You know, thank you, sir. Can I have another? And you know where it's a high T religion, right? And that's why a schmuck like Andrew Tate thinks he's had a real insight in embracing it.
People are seeing it as a redress to women of the West who have been conned by feminism into believing that these things are good for them. They're not good for them. We need, you know, no one's happy. Look at the divorce rates. Look at the 60% of US teenage girls aged 12 to 16 have regular or persistent feelings of hopelessness. Everyone's OnlyFans pathologically fapping themselves into a early Monster Energy hole or whatever it is that they're doing.
Right.
The answer is a return to something that's got a bit more Lindy nature to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the claim that I want to deny. I mean, it's explicitly retrograde. I mean, it is regressive. It is backward looking. It is not using all of the good ideas we've had in the meantime, right? It's like, it's a disavowal of the present and the near present. I mean, the modernity. In the case of Islam, it's a disavowal of nearly 1,400 years of wisdom and insight, right? It's a claim that in the 7th century, somebody was so smart and so wise and so prescient and so had his shit together that everything worth thinking about and talking about happened then, right? So we should confine ourselves to the products of that conversation. That's just, I mean, it's imbecilic on its face, right? And it's not to say there's nothing useful to come out of Islam, but whatever is useful, we can use without believing that Muhammad was visited by the Archangel Gabriel and got the last, you know, download from the creator of the universe. It's just not, this is not to deny any of the cultural problems that someone like Andrew Tate, or, I mean, there's lots of people we've dragged into the conversation here, but like all of these people who I've criticized to some degree, Tate or RFK or I mean, you could add Elon to this. I mean, all these people are kind of living out the consequences of their dissatisfaction with the present on the public stage and winning a lot of followers as a result. They just like they like the way these guys are complaining about the obvious excesses of the left for the most part. I have several problems with this. One is that most of these guys, most of the time, some of them all of the time, are ignoring the obvious problems and in many cases quite a bit scarier problems on the right, right? they really care that the government tried to micromanage the messaging about COVID on Twitter, right? That's the biggest story of the decade, right? I've got 100 podcasts in me and 100 newsletters in addition to that on that topic, but they don't really much care about what happened on January 6th, where we had a sitting president who for months had been declining to support a peaceful transfer of power. And for the first time in our history, we did not have a peaceful transfer of power. And we had a sitting president visibly trying to steal an election, all the while claiming an election had been stolen from him. And everyone around him knew that was bullshit, right? We were poised on the verge of a constitutional crisis, which may yet return in 2024. And yet we have these guys more worried about, trans overreach with respect to bathrooms. And I get all that. I get how infuriating so much of the woke identitarian nonsense is, but you have to have some proportion, and you have to keep both problems in view. And